Sports parents, if you're looking for a program to help develop your student athlete, check out my course, The Edge, showing and helping the student athlete how to take effective action, developing discipline, showing them how to develop a growth mindset and expand their mind in the form of reflective thinking. This is the place you want to be. This is course. I want you to work through this course with your student athlete. It's not for them to go at it alone. This is a gap. This is a way to bridge the gap between the student athlete and sports parent and the student athlete and the coach. Check out my course, The Edge, at sportsmastery.thinkific.com. I'll also have a link in the show notes. And now back to the show. My cousin, she died last week and out in Chicago. And it's a trip because she was one of those cousins that was like 7 or 8 years older than us. So she was always like a big sister, auntie type of cousin. Mm-hmm. Now her brother, congratulations to him. He had just done 10 years in the feds. And my cousin Lashana, I didn't notice that she needed a kidney transplant. So, I didn't know she was going through dialysis like three times a week. And I think another relative was going to do the surgery. He was preparing his body for it. So, essentially she just spent the whole 10 years staying alive till Cuz made it home. And, she knew she was going to go. And basically once Cuz got to the house, she basically felt like she could rest. You know what I mean? And, when you talk about fear or the fear of death, here's somebody that I would talk to on the phone or through Facebook on occasion, but she knew she was dying the whole time, bro, the whole time. So it's like she just looked death like right in the face, and she wanted to see her brother one more time. She stayed alive to see her brother one more time. So it's like when we talk about fear and adversity and the situations that we go through as coaches and athletes, we're just talking about wins and losses and training, scholarships, game day, practice. Can you make it or not? So when you look at adversity and the things that we teach our kids is really just imaginary. You know what I mean? And I find like a lot of kids, like, me, I love Robert Greene, and I'm always listening to the 50th Law. And he has a chapter in there, confront your mortality. And it's basically realizing that you in nature, everything dies. So for you to avoid what's going to happen in nature, you're not even being real or 100 with yourself. So realize that you're going to die and then really learn how to live and excel living. So, me and you know this, and these are the things and concepts that we teach to our athletes when we're working with them, when we're talking to them. That's why we're coaches. That's why we're mentors. So when we're dealing with adversity, very few kids make it because, most times they give up, and they either have somebody coddling them, which could be a parent, or enabling them, letting them quit, taking them and putting them in an environment that's not conducive to growth. And what I found is, at some point, if you're listening to this, if you're a sports parent, if you're in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, New York, Atlanta, Los Angeles, California, Cleveland, Ohio, Columbus, wherever you might be, Seattle, Washington, is that you're going to have to go through something. I know, Leland, you were talking earlier in the week how you were glad to see your son where he is because he was at a prior school going through adversity. And if he would have stayed at that school rather than it being his junior year, he'd be in his senior year on an 0-9 team. So you made a change when people were saying that you shouldn't do this, you might want to stay here, and you had a whole bunch of doubters, and you were dealing with, from what I remember, an extreme amount of adversity at the time. Would you care to speak on that real briefly?
No, actually, it wasn't any outside people. It came from his coach. And his coach told him, he said, hey, we're getting ready to start a new year, get everything started. And coming in, I want you to know that we're going to be doing some things different. And my son said, different like what? And he was like, well, I want you to understand you might have to fight for your minutes this year. Now I understand this dude is the fittest dude on the team. He was the fittest athlete to step on those school grounds within the last 10 years. And Eric Jackson, who was his recruiting coach, could tell you that. That's what he was telling this individual. So, well, what he did was he made a phone call to me in tears and was like, what should we do? I was like, well, you don't have to stay here. This fits along with the plan. What plan? I said, I told you it was going to take us 5 to get 4. So that's what we start thinking on lines of. We start thinking, instead of in a 4-year plan, we start thinking in about a 5-year plan. So we just looked at it as it was advantageous to us, you know. And the athlete, him, no, at that particular time, he didn't understand or see it, but I knew it. You know what I'm saying? And I knew that he had did some things that would make it able for him to be in a better situation. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because this is the same year that he was all conference player of the year, and then you get this message after that.
No, actually, he wasn't all conference player of the year. He was honorable mention all conference. Okay. Which is still, you know, says that you laid your shit down in the league and that you're an up and coming commodity to the school and to the team. And again, he was just told that in hindsight, though, man, it was the best thing that ever could happen to him, because I just told you that story about what I went through, and the real true definition or the poignant part of that story is, after that happened to me, I was paralyzed for a year. I was actually paralyzed. I couldn't walk. I went from a dude with a 40-something inch vertical that can dunk, standing underneath the court, to somebody that I needed the help of 3 people to even move from one spot to another. You feel me? So me lacing him with what I had to go through to be able to walk again, and not only will walk again, but run again, that gave him that I think that kind of helped him going, shit, if Dad went through that, I could go through some shit too. You know what I'm saying?
And that's one of the things I wanted to speak on when it comes to, like, you know, overcoming adversity. It's a hidden talent. You know, we ain't concerned about the physical side, how fast you can run, how high you can jump, how far you could throw, how many shots you can make. It's about you having that resilience and that grit. And it sounds like, you know, your situation, you got that, and you was able to channel that energy or that past experience to jazz.
Yeah, and we had other situations. I think he was really surprised on how we handled Jazz in the 9th grade, had a great 9th grade campaign and took his team all the way to the state championship. And over that summer, we got involved with some individuals that we probably shouldn't involve with, and he ended up breaking his ankle. I mean, snapping it. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because I went from a myriad of emotions. Get your ass up. Because, you know, that's what we are. We tough. Get your ass up. Oh, shit. It's broke. Oh, okay. Get yourself right. Get yourself right. All right. Okay. He got to see that you cool. And then what happened was I had to, you know, take my experiences and my knowledge and had to use what I went through. Then I had to convert that over to him. So the first thing I had to do was be calm. First thing I had to do was show him, or in his face, when he looked at me, I had to be so confident that, oh, bro, we got this. But I really felt that way. And the reason why I really felt that way is because of the process it took to even make him that good at that particular sport. not only did skill set work, we did body enhancement work. We did speed work. We did strength training. That takes time. You know, that's the same as just the same type of systematic way that it takes you to build your body and make your body stronger, or work on your hips and make them stronger. The same methodology you use in that, you use that in the rehab process.
You know, I think the real key here in what you said was being calm. Now, you mentioned before, you know, and I said this about you as far as having resilience and grit, but the next key term here is to be calm, because I'll tell you, Lee, just like we're talking about, you have to confront your mortality. You have to confront your fear of death. You have to confront fears, period. And I wake up every day knowing that we could lose today, 7-on-7 season. Well, last Sunday or last Saturday, we went 0-4, got our asses kicked every game. You know, a lot of guys played terrible. We didn't play physical. And I had, like we always said, I had to point the finger at myself. What could I had done better? You know, the defensive coordinator, he looked at himself. What could he had done better? By while we're going through all this, I'm calm the whole time, Leland. I'm not yelling. I ain't cussing nobody out. And what I found was that even though we had a lot of players that didn't play up to their potential because they're playing other kids that they know, and they're getting caught up in the rivalry and the smack talk versus the execution, I just figured out a way to stay calm through it all. Coming back this week, back to the drawing board, working on the small details. You know, so at the end of the day, you know, what y'all are hearing Leland talk about, I mean, we really live this. You have to be calm. You ain't going to win every game. We got taxed last week, and it was personal. You know, and it bees that way sometimes. So you got to be able to handle that as a coach. You can't give up on your kids. You can't cuss your kids out. You can't overly critique them. You know, the only thing you can do is simplify and continue to teach, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about teaching, training, and long-term development, and then working on their psyche at the same time. Because as you know, Leland, yesterday was signing day. It's some dudes that's going to land scholarships, land at certain schools, but they really don't have the resilience. They really don't have the grit, and they're going to be bounce backs, or they're going to be, you know, lost at some point or disappear because that foundation was never set.
That's true. That's true. That's very much true.
So I would say, you know, again, if you're listening to this, no, if you're my folks in Nigeria, especially listening to this, if you're listening to this in Ghana, we got folks way over there listening to us, even Japan. You have to remember that I want you to imagine hardship, because when you can imagine the worst that can happen, then you can prepare accordingly. And if it still happens, now you have a valuable experience. So, you know, I really appreciate what you've been sharing about Jazz and in some of the things that you went through. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, my little guy now, Wayne, he just went through an adverse situation. It had nothing to do with sport. It did have something to do with sports, then it didn't. You know, because sometimes when you know, and this kids, they start to see a little success, you get other people that want to be involved, and when those people get involved, it brings about confusion. And him and I had an identical upbringing as kids, so I think that's where we got a connection at. And I think he was going through some stuff where he was mentally and physically being abused by a family member, and it was hard for him to come out and face that adverse situation of not knowing where I will be in the future, not knowing if the people that are around me, whether I can really trust them, are they gonna really protect me? He was really going through some shit. And this weekend, he just don't understand. He grew. He's not only gonna grow as an athlete, but he's gonna grow as a young man, because he really faced some things and let some people know some things, let him know how he was feeling and how he was thinking. And I love to see that transformation. I love to see that bell go off in a person when they discover something new about themselves. And I even told him, I said, man, it's like an abused wife. You know, she convinces herself that a slap upside the head ain't shit. You know, he just slapped me upside the head every once in a while. But she not realizing that those slaps upside the head are more and more frequent, you know.
Right.
And then she all of a sudden wakes up and goes, you know, I can call the police, or a bell goes off that lets her know that, you know, there's something you can do about it. You know what I'm saying? It's something about that, seeing that bell go off in a person that's you know, and especially if you can help it, it's fulfilling. It's
Yeah,
fulfilling.
and it's like, I hear you, man, because you can be going through adversity, but sometimes, like you said, you got to keep calm, take a step back, and then you'll find some power in the adversity. And then when you see that power, then that's when that confidence comes. Then, you know, then you can express yourself accordingly, you know,
Yeah.
to change that situation or change that dynamic. And I mean, it's like I definitely don't condone spouse abuse in no way, shape, or form, but I think that's a perfect illustration, because that woman, either she's gonna call the authorities, you know, or she's gonna have her pistol at some point. You know?
I mean, let's be real, man. I mean, we've gone through a great deal of adversity in our life. When we was trying to live our little football life and you know, see how far we can go at this.
Yep.
We went through a gang of adversity, and I don't think many guys, and I think that's why our connection is so deep. You know, hey y'all try getting kicked out on I-5. You know, your car go bad, and boy is like, he too just so stuck with you. He like, well, what you want to do? Well, we made to Longview. What you want to do? Nigga, well, we closing the home, but the game is in Seattle. What you want to do? Nigga, let's go to Seattle. Yeah, I know y'all don't believe that, but we did.
Oh, we left the Buick on the side of the road, and somebody came and got us from Seattle, and then I had the Buick towed back to Portland.
Hey, if that ain't an adverse situation, if that ain't overcoming adversity, and we just it was just straight. I don't think it was a doubt in our mind.
Oh, it wasn't even a second thought. I remember it to this day. I mean, it was like we was going to play the game, you know?
Yeah. You know, I mean, that's the type of, you know.
You gotta have that kind of grit when you really about that life. You know, nothing is getting in the way. Nothing is going to stop you, you know? And if that was in today's time, we would have just called an Uber.
We just called Uber.
It would have been an Uber right away.
And we probably would have went right back to Portland.
Yeah, and most dudes, they would have just called an Uber home. You know, that's most dudes. You know,
but that's the one thing when I hear you say, Tom, Leland, this is our time, and I go, yeah, it is, because of the experiences like that, because we shared those types of. Other guys ain't shared those experiences. There's guys, and excuse me for pointing out people again. There's dudes that are in the E-Force house that hadn't faced adversity like we faced it.
Just coaches in general in our area.
Period.
You know, never had to have a job at 12 or 13 years old. Never had to work for anything.
You know, that adds to this how do I gain confidence thing. You know what I'm saying?
And see, Leland, not to interrupt you, but where I want to go with this hidden talent of overcoming adversity, what y'all are listening to us say so far is, at a certain point, sports parents, you know, you young coaches, you have to put your kids through some adversity, because it's going to pay off for them later. And that is what Leland is saying right now. That's what I'm saying right now. That's why I chose to talk about this subject today, because overcoming adversity is a hidden talent and you don't see it. You know, and then I'm talking from, you know, right now, a football perspective, you know, varsity football, freshman football, 7-on-7 football. You know, we live in days and times that if it's 3 kids at the same position, one of them is going to quit. One of them is going to turn into a little crybaby and not want to work through it. And that kid could actually be the better kid than the first 2 if he decided to work, but 9 times out of 10, he has another fucking coach calling him. He has a parent who hasn't been through any adversity, and then they're saying, come play for our team, or, you know, we can go to this team. When you're going to run into some adversity at the next team, you're going to run into some adversity at the next level. And then what, you know what you're going to do? You're going to run. You're going to quit. You're going to shy away from really working. So that's what we're discussing here. And I see it. I see it today. I see it right now. This is what's happening on our team.
And it's the parents' responsibility. This is the funny thing about this. This is something that is purely controlled by the parent.
Mm-hmm.
It's purely controlled by the parent, man. It almost kills me when I go and watch high school basketball today,
Mm-hmm.
and I see so many youngsters that in their mind, and man, these bodies are just like, you go, damn, he's 6'3", damn, he's 6'4", wow, he's 6'5". But what's inside of that athlete is empty. It's like they have no idea. They have no idea. They sit back and they make videos of themselves, and then they send those videos through YouTube, and they don't have no idea that everything that you showing everybody, that's not going to be applicable on the college level at all.
That's right. That's right. And Leland, you know what I call that, or what we call that, is the Sports Center era. The Sports Center era, where you know, people put their highlights up on Twitter. They put their highlights up on Instagram.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Just the fancy little stuff.
Not knowing that when you see that highlight, that dude ain't trying to do that highlight because he's trying to say, "Oh, I'm going to be on Sports Center."
And he wants some likes. That's it.
No, I'm talking about the athletes that's actually performing the whatever highlight you're looking at. You don't understand the hard work that was put into to that athlete to be able to perform that particular highlight.
Right, I understand.
Spent in the gym to get those reflexes together and all that kind of, like there's a recent highlight with Jazz and them, and now the Mountain Western's took in this highlight and just ran with it, where Caleb was running to get the ball. He saves the ball from going out of bounds. He passes it to Jordan Caroline. Jordan Caroline passes it to Jazz. Jazz throws an alley-oop pass, and Caroline catches it and dunks it. Blah. Well, you know, you see kids will watch that and they'll be like, "Ooh, I want to do that one day." Not understanding that, you know, the dude that probably saved the ball, when he saved the ball, he probably hit his head on the table and fucked himself up. You know that, right? So that's the adversity that you're gonna have to face to be able to ignite that play. Would you do it? Would you be willing to fuck yourself up to get that basketball to save it and get it to your next teammate?
So basically, risk a concussion.
Would you risk it? Would you risk that? Are you going that hard? Will you go that hard? And I hate to say it, bro. More and more of these, I'm starting to see more and more often, there ain't kids that would do no shit like that.
No, not at all. It's too much thinking going on and not enough doing and acting, you know? Because if you have to think about it, if you think you're going to get a concussion, you're going to go half speed. You're not going to go the whole way. It's the ones that they're not even thinking. They're just in the moment that's making it happen.
They making it happen, bro. They making it happen. And, you know, that's the unique thing I love about, you know, every time I look on Facebook and I see your videos and what it's saying, more so than, you know, that's why, you know, we do our thing a little different. I love the fact that you'll sit and you'll give an oratorial speech about what you're doing. And a lot of times what I do is I just show the athlete going through whatever movements we're going through, you know, but the bottom line is what we're saying is there is a process. There's a slow, tedious process that one must take in order to get better at anything. You know, Deshaun, I find you because, you know, we listen to the same shit, and you're using that. You got to make boredom fun.
You got to. Ladies and gentlemen, as we get into the fourth quarter, I want to explain a few things. And really, here's the truth of the matter. There's no achievement without adversity. There's no success without struggle. There's no highlight without hardship. There is no glory without grit. Before we close out, Leland, what's some of your final thoughts on overcoming adversity, it being a hidden talent, and some of the things that you see going on in the youth, high school, basketball, football, sporting world?
The beautiful thing about the subject that we're talking about is it can be taught. If you're willing to be taught, it can be taught. You know what I'm saying? You just got to have the right type of person that's willing to teach it. That person has to not be about self, but it's not easy, because you have to have the ability to, in the moment, at that particular time while it's being done to you, you have to have the ability to just say to yourself, I think this might be an opportunity. And the funny part about it is, once you go through it and you do it, the next time you can see it coming. You can kind of see it coming. You know what I'm saying? And it may happen or it may not, but you go through this little mental preparation phase. Okay, just in case, I'm getting ready. You know what I'm saying? Just in case, I'm getting ready, just like the situation with Jazz. Okay, because you got a new coach. Okay, just in case, let's get ready, just in case he don't like anything that you can bring. Let's just get ready. Let's get our minds ready. Let's get our minds ready for rejection. Let's use our ability to really define that rejection and where it came from. Because a lot of times when you reject it, it ain't got nothing to do with you personally. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It has to do with the circumstances and the situation. And I say all the time, if I was Terry Porter, maybe if I was Terry Porter and my sons were in the same, maybe I would have did what he did. Maybe. So I don't see anything wrong with I ain't gonna say I ain't gonna see anything wrong. It's just the way things are. And then sometimes you got to get around it. That's it.
Yeah. So what I want y'all to think about in terms of overcoming adversity is you got to get over your fears. You got to get over your fears of what somebody might say on a particular play, how you played, their opinion of your game. So at the end of the day, you have to get over your fear of death. And at the end of the day, we're all going to die. So get used to it. You're going to die one day. So I want y'all to start to live. But on the flip side of that is, what if you're already dead? Today's episode is brought to you by Bay Area company Millennium Edge Apparel, an athletic apparel company that manufactures clothing for basketball, golf, soccer, regular workouts, and even restaurant staff members. To learn more, visit millenniumedgeapparel.com.